He never draws first blood. The first time was for himself. The second time was for his country. This time,
Rambo, something went wrong.
it's for his friend.
What do you expect us to do? Send in a Delta team? Create an international incident?
What about me?
Stallone.
By the way you look, I can see you have no experience in war.
Rambo 3.
Who are you? The worst nightmare. What will set Rambo 3 apart from the other two Rambos is it's much bigger, so to do this has been a difficult affair.
On this particular film, you've got the whole variation of stunts that you normally do on 5 different pictures. You do them all on one picture.
This is almost Rambo of Arabia. You know, it's a very big film.
Okay. Well, Sly, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
And thanks for making yourself available to talk about Rambo 3, because you don't really have to do this, you know.
I like it once in a while. I haven't done it in many years. So I think it's about time I get out there and stand behind my product, you might say, and the character.
In 1987, Sylvester Stallone began shooting the third chapter of the Rambo saga, the biggest movie to be ever released.
Do we get to win this time?
Well, I hope the film succeeds, and the character of Rambo in this one, I think, does win a major moral battle, and he finally comes to terms with what he is.
However, the production was a mess. In the first 2 weeks, a huge part of the crew was replaced, and in conclusion, the biggest movie in the world was given to a debutante.
I wanted to make this Rambo because it's a very serious, true situation in the world that's going on, and it's a very political situation, and I thought that it's a story that should be told, and it's very realistic. And I don't want Rambo to do movies that are not realistic. I want something that's very truthful. Well, Afghanistan is something that's been planned. I mean, the Russians have been watching that country for well over 100 years. They thought they could go in there and cause a great deal of disarray, take over the country, because they want the country, they don't want the people. And from there, they were planning on setting up some of the major 30 missile bases from which they can control the Straits of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf. So that was all part of a plan, but they backfired. They didn't count on the commitment of religion. And as we know, religion to people in that particular part of the world is first and foremost above their family, above their lives. And that'll never end. I mean, go all the way back to the Crusades, fighting the infidels. They'll never give up.
No women, no romance.
I had written it in at one time. I really had. He meets this carnival stripper, but I thought it wasn't right for the film. It was just kind of went against the theme. Believe me, I would enjoy that very much. Believe me. I mean, I can only kiss Richard Crenna so many times. Hugging him isn't a ball, you know.
Stallone was unsatisfied with his script, so he began his search for a co-writer. Eventually, he came upon Sheldon Lettich, best known for co-writing Bloodsport.
They've asked me to go in.
You're not going to do it.
Yes. And I want you to come with me, John.
I put in my time.
What's that mean?
It means my war's over.
Stallone's initial idea was Troutman comes in and says, hey, I need some help in Afghanistan. And Rambo just says, okay, Sam, let me just get my gear. Being a Vietnam vet myself and knowing a bunch of them, I told him, you know, Sly, I don't think that would be Rambo's reaction.
I thought you said he was this great soldier.
He's not some bloodthirsty soldier that wants to just go out and kill people. He's the best in the world, but he won't do it. You got to really give him a strong motivation to go to Afghanistan and put himself in the line of fire.
Looks like we got a long walk down those stairs.
This turned it into a real human story.
We didn't make you this fighting machine. We just chipped away the rough edges.
You're always going to be tearing away at yourself until you come to terms with what you are. Until you come full circle.
Most of what is in the movie, most of the dialogue especially, is Stallone. Stallone wrote that.
And this? What does this for?
It's a blue light.
What does it do?
It turns blue.
I see.
But structurally, it was really mine structurally. I'm the one who basically came up with the 3-act structure. But we had this big meeting. It was probably Stallone's house.
Okay.
And we're all sitting around in the living room. And there were problems. So I said, well, let me take all this material here and let me try to work it into a treatment and try to make it all work. So I did. I went home, did some writing, came in with a treatment. It was maybe 8 pages long. So we go back to his house. I handed out copies to everybody. And, it's like Mario Kassar and Andy Vanya and Stallone and a few of Stallone's bodyguard guys. And I think Russell Mulcahy might have been in that meeting with us. And we're all just sitting there in silence. I hear pages turning. Everybody's reading through it. And finally, Stallone passes judgment and he says, hey, it works. It works. He liked what I came up with.
Nice.
Basically, I just kind of restructured everything, and he liked that.
Stallone wanted to hire Russell Mulcahy, a music video director who was sought after in Hollywood thanks to a hit he had in 1986 with Highlander. Stallone personally called Mulcahy with a proposition to direct. He agreed.
And they sent Russell all over the world, scouting locations. He went to Canada. He went numerous places trying to find somewhere that could stand in for Afghanistan.
Eventually, they chose Mexico. After the $5 million decorations were built, Mulcahy proposed to move the shoot to Israel. Stallone agreed with his idea, and the decorations were dismantled.
Very early on in the process, when we first started talking about this, I said to Stallone, hey, what about Israel? Israel looks kind of like Afghanistan. And he said, oh, no, I ain't going to no Israel because the security situation. So a year goes by, and then people start looking into the Israeli equation and realizing that actually Israel does look quite a bit like the desert parts of Afghanistan.
Okay.
And the government there is very open to helping us. And in fact, one thing that Israel's got that you can't find other places, they have a lot of Soviet military equipment that they've captured in all these wars because the Arabs were supplied by the Soviet Union. The Israelis were supplied by the U.S.
We decided to shoot Rambo in the Mideast simply because it added a sense of realism, of weight to the film. I think shooting Rambo in Las Vegas would lack a certain weightiness. You go, oh yeah, it's shot live across the street from a casino. It doesn't quite ring true. This is a story really about Afghanistan, so I wanted to get as close to the natural environment as I could.
A real-life battle for Rambo. In Israel, to film Rambo III, actor Sylvester Stallone was forced to flee his hotel room yesterday after a Middle East border clash broke out less than 150 yards away. The shooting occurred near the Israel-Jordan border, where Stallone is making the new movie. Hotel security guards took Stallone to a safe house.
From that area, you can see there was 50-millimeter machine gun fire with green traces going up, and somebody must have got a direct hit because the machine gun went up into the air, which usually indicates a direct hit. And then I definitely heard two Kalashnikovs and another automatic fire.
Neither Stallone nor any of his crew members were injured in that incident.
You know, I think you're going to take John Huston's place because his reputation in the industry, as you probably know, is that if there's a difficult location, too hot or too cold,
go there,
insecure, trouble spot, John Huston's going to find it. But now I think they're going to say that about you.
Well, compared to my household, Israel was easy, okay? You're talking about trouble spots. Forget about it.
That's why you went to Israel, huh?
You bet, to get some peace. No, I thought it'd be great for the film, really. It was the layout, the land, the people, the heat.
there's some brutal terrain over there, and I thought, well, this is about as close as we can get to actually going to Afghanistan.
And so there you were.
And there I was.
According to Mulcahy, his work with Stallone initially went great. The trouble began when Mulcahy's artistic vision differed from Stallone's. The director wanted a more serious, darker story with multiple subtexts, and Sly wanted a simple, heroic movie. Mulcahy's operator, Jerry Fisher, became seriously ill and couldn't continue his job. He was replaced with Rick Waite, who previously collaborated with Stallone on Cobra. He only lasted for 2 weeks and was replaced by David Gerfinkel from Over the Top. Mulcahy went to Israel 2 weeks before Stallone in search for extras for about 20 brute Soviet soldiers. Stallone was not happy to find 24 blonde-haired, blue-eyed youngsters who looked like they had just come from a surfing competition. Rambo isn't afraid of competition, but fighting with third-rate models. I expressed my disappointment to Russell. He disagreed, so I suggested he go his own way with that chiffon army. When Mulcahy left the production, a search for a new director began. Stallone offered the job to his previous collaborator on Rambo II, Peter MacDonald. According to Stallone, MacDonald was one of the best operators in the world. He was responsible for the helicopter shots, which were Stallone's favorite part of the movie. He only recently became a main operator. Before that, he worked under Jeffrey Unsworth on movies like Cabaret and Superman. Just as he was finishing his work on a small-budget comedy, Shag, he received an offer to join the crew of Rambo III. Without much thought, he accepted. MacDonald was sure that he would only be a second-plan operator, working on the less important scenes. So he was shocked when he found out upon arrival that he was going to direct the most expensive movie in history. Sly convinced me that with his knowledge of the character and the support of the entire team, everything would work out. He and the producers believed in me more than I did myself.